Well, hello, we are team number 3, and today we are going to talk about the subject of why it is important to keep fighting for gender equality. So, my name is Ana Carolina Alcázar Flores.
Hi, my name is Valentina Herrera.
Hi, my name is Emilio Ashem Reyna.
Hi, I am Ximena Maria Mejia Zuñiga.
Hi, I am Andrea Fernanda Trejo Gómez.
Hi, my name is Paulina, Lissette, Cantú, Garza.
Hi, my name is Valeria, Marian, González, Jiménez.
First, we're going to talk a little bit about the history. So, for many years, women were not allowed to study, to work, or to decide about their own bodies, or to decide about almost anything. So, the first wave of feminism started at the end of the 8th century and 18th century and during the 19th century. Women fought for basic legal political rights, especially the rights to vote and the right to get higher education. But this movement mostly excluded the women of color who had to create their own club, their own fight for their rights. This inspired many other women to raise their voices and to keep protesting.
I want to talk about how it started here in Mexico, like locally. So the feminist movement started towards the beginning of the 19th century and the end of the 20th. The first feminist congress was held in Yucatan in 1916, and women were fighting for their rights for education. This congress helped to change the legal aspect of it and promoting the gender equality and letting women study at a greater level. This created the opportunity to get employed in better positions, but the consolidation of modern feminism started in the 1970s.
An important achievement of this movement occurred in 1919 with Elena Torres Cuellar, because she found the Mexican Feminist Council. Her goal was clear: she wants to open the doors of education for women and to fight for women's suffrage. And thanks to her and another more women, decades later, Mexican women were able to vote and actively participate in politics. And I mean, it was a huge change and really shows that feminism in Mexico has deep roots.
One of the most significant achievements of the feminist movement was securing women's right to vote, because this historic milestone took place in different countries and in different types. But one of the most notable moments was in USA in 1920, when the amendment was ratified, and women like Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and Sue Truth played crucial roles in advocating for voting. And this achievement was not only legal victory, but also a symbolic fully in political and social life.
Another important achievement was 1963, when the Equal Pay Act is passed by the Congress. This is a law that makes it illegal for employers to pay women lower wages than men for work requiring the same skill, effort, and responsibility. This means that when employees were suspected that they had a pay discrimination because of the gender, the legal counselors could file a lawsuit against the discrimination and make an equal pay for both genders.
Okay, so even though we have there are many achievements, there's still sadly a lot of cases in which, for example, feminist marches have been cases of damage to public property or clashes with the police. And although many see this as a way to draw attention to gender-based violence, for others it can be perceived as negative and used to discredit the movement.
Feminism has brought huge change, but like any movement, it also has challenges. Sometimes it becomes radical and excludes voices like trans women, men who want to be allies, or women with different opinions. It's also used by brands as marketing without a real commitment to equality. And even inside the movement, contradictions appear when people repeat the same power dynamics they're fighting against.
We are going to discuss some answers. So the first question, is if you think that there's still problems that is still affecting women, and obviously about the gender equality. And I think that yes, there's many problems that still affecting us. One of them is that women still earn less money than men for the same work, or women are underrepresented in leadership positions. So domestic violence is also a big problem, and it may not seem that common here, but in other places, domestic violence is really common.
So for me, I think we still have many factors that affect gender inequality. One of them, as my co-classmate Caro said, the education and job discrimination. Also, the violence and harassment are very present still nowadays. We still have unequal life opportunities that affect the development of many women, and also the gender stereotypes, which are very common between the society, especially in places that do not have this education to offer a more open-minded opinions and those things.
I also agree with my partners, because I believe women still face many problems that affect equality, such as the gender pay gap, lack of representation in leadership, and limited opportunities in politics. And we also deal with stereotype discrimination and gender-based violence, which make it hard to live safely and free. On top of that, balancing work, family, and unequal access to education and healthcare are still a challenge that show real equality has not been fully achieved.
Like as my partner just said, I agree with him. And I think mainly the stereotypes, as Ximena said, are very like established. And I think that's one of the main problems right now because even like if we compare to how it was many years ago, we can see that it has improved, but still there's a lot to work to do in those areas. Women can have also been like looked down in some work places, and yeah, I think we can all agree with that.
Well, I agree with my partners. There are still major issues that affect women and girls today, such as gender pay gap, like Caro says, stereotypes, and the underrepresentation of women in leadership positions. And these problems limit opportunities and prevent many women from reaching their full potential. And it's a reminder that equality is not yet fully achieved, and we must continue to fight for fair.
So as my classmates said, I do agree with them. I do think that there are still many reasons to keep fighting for the fairness and equality. There are still a lot of inequalities in job positions and in life in general. I mean, as they say, like the stereotypes are still very consistent on every single person, not only women and men.
We also need to talk about micromachismos, the small, everyday things that keep inequality alive, like saying I help at home instead of I share the housework, expecting women to always take notes at work, or men calling themselves allies but taking up all the space. Pointing these things out doesn't weaken feminism. It makes it stronger and more inclusive, starting with the small details.
Well, yeah, I think there's many things that we need to keep fighting for. For example, me personally, I have seen situations where women were not taken seriously just because they were women. So this have made me feel angry or frustrated because I genuinely think that everyone deserves the same respect and opportunities. So I would like to know if you have ever like seen or lived something related to gender inequality.
For me, not in my case, I have not seen nor lived a situation like this, but I know it's frustrating for anyone who has lived that or even seen. It's a difficult situation that we can have solutions for this type of discrimination against the genders, mostly for women.
Well, in my cases, I haven't experienced a case of gender inequality. However, my sister, like my older sister, has experienced a bit of a problem with a coworker. This coworker looked down on her, and just because of being a woman, but like she of course talked with her boss, and fortunately it was fixed. But yeah, I heard that type of situation from my sister.
I don't know if this counts, but about like a year ago, I was waiting for my dad in an outdoor parking lot, and suddenly I hear someone starting to whistle at me and saying things like, "Oh, redhead, come here," some things like that. And at first, I thought like, well, there are people around; it's probably not me, and it's fine, okay. And I tried to ignore it, but as soon as I realized that the person was actually like following me, and it wasn't a mistake or a coincidence, because I started walking between the cars to protect myself. And when I confirmed that he was following me, I had to run until my dad arrived. And it was like really an uncomfortable moment and a very scary situation. And it made me feel like so frustrated because sometimes just for being a woman and for being alone, you have to stay constantly alert. And that's something that no one of us should live like in our daily lives.
In my case, I have a situation too. One day, I was hanging out with some friends of the basketball team, and there were boys and girls, and the boys lived to see some basketballs or things like that, no? And some men start talking to us, but it feels so, no, I don't know, I feel so uncomfortable. And when the boys come, the men start like getting nervous and they got away. So that make me feel frustrated and disappointed because I'm not the only woman that have a situation like this. And I'm sorry that you live something like that, Valentina. I wish we can change the society, so make it better.
So there's like a new concept that is micromachismos that I don't know if there is a proper word for it in English, but I'm going to call it micromachismos. And they are called micro because they might look small or maybe unimportant, but in reality, they have a really big impact, and this should not be allowed or accepted. One of the micromachismos that is like the most common one is the mansplaining. Maybe you know the term. That is when a man explains something to a woman in a condescending way, thinking that she doesn't know the whatever you're talking about, even if she does. And other thing that is considered micromachismo is interrupting. When a man cut off a woman while she's speaking, he's making her opinion seem less important. So these are things that we should not allow. Do you know any other micromachismos?
I also want to talk about catcalling, or it's better known as piropos callejeros. This is something we were living with since a lot of years ago. Because, for example, it's not like when someone calls you like, I'm sorry, when someone calls you on the street and tells you something like, no, I'm not feeling like, I don't feel pretty, or I'm not feeling comfortable, and I don't feel your comment like a compliment. I'm feeling bad with myself because I don't like that. And if you don't know someone walking down the street, don't make sexual remarks, or don't tell her nothing, like it's not necessary. And these kind of comments are very common. Makes me feel bad the person, because I don't know, I feel bad when someone calls me and it's like a compliment, but it doesn't feel like that. And also, pink tax is another issue, because basically women pay more for products that are exactly the same as men's. For example, shampoos. This is also a common example, because they can cost up to 43% more, and the only difference is that the bottle is pink. And this goes with the hand with products that should be a basic necessity, like menstrual pads. Even though the IVA was removed in 2022, many women still pay high prices, spending between 100 or 150 pesos per month. And over a lifetime, that adds up to 1,000 of pesos.
I think all this problematic cannot be eradicated by its own, but we can still implement solutions that can help combat or preventing gender inequality. For example, we can propose or will guarantee equality in education and work. By this, I mean that we need to ensure equality in education and in the job, giving women and men the same opportunities to study, choose careers, and grow professionally. Many times we can relate a certain education degree to a gender. For example, engineering, it's almost related to men, and we do not see many women in this field and also in the job field. That's why we need to include equal access to resources. We need to also have a fair pay, leadership positions, including women, and safe respect to not have any type of discrimination for anyone.
Well, as you said, education is a big part. I think a great solution is to implement these educational programs, like the one like this subject, since very young ages in schools, and for everyone to have access. Because if kids grow learning up that boys and girls have the same right, it becomes way easier to break these stereotypes that nowadays are very established, and build a culture of equality from the ground up since childhood.
It's also necessary to keep promoting the laws and legislation that propose gender equality in jobs and position opportunities, salary, and all labor field for women.
Digital era is important, the media and the social networks, because we should highlight positive examples of women in all fields, showing the success is possible for everyone regardless of gender. And by combining some strategies, we can create a society where women and girls have the same opportunities, rights, and recognition as men.
I believe that men like me can support feminism by listening and respecting women. Even small actions like standing against sexism make a difference. So respecting women, and it's all.
Well, now we are going to conclude by sharing our personal opinions with this subject. So my personal opinion is that I believe that gender equality is a basic human right, and it should not be seen as only as a woman's issue. Everyone should care about this problem, because society is stronger when all people have the same opportunities. Men should also be part of the solution, since gender roles affect men too. For example, many men feel the pressure to always be like strong or to avoid showing emotions, which can also hurt their mental health. So this problem is affecting all of us, and fighting for equality benefits both women and men, because it gives everyone the freedom to live without stereotypes. And that is my opinion.
So for me, my personal opinion will be that we still need to fight for gender equality all around the world. Gender inequality still exists. It has not been eradicated, and it will not unless we implement new solutions and new ideas for combating it. And gender equality is a protected right that should be implemented. Well, everyone should respect, and every gender should be respected too.
Okay, in my opinion, I think that we have achieved many important things, like women gaining the right to vote and raising awareness about gender equality, but there is still a lot to do, and inequality is still exists in different areas. So we must keep working through education, awareness, and equal opportunities to create a fairer and more equal society for everyone.
Well, as I said before, compared to how it was back in the day, it has improved. We have seen an improvement, and well, yeah, it's something that concerns everyone, not only women. It's also men and women, everyone. And like maybe the seek for gender equality sometimes feels like this huge challenge. But honestly, like if we start by little by little, we can change. That's how change can begin. So we can respect each other and listen to each other, split our responsibilities fairly, and speaking and have the freedom to speak whenever we see a case like of inequality.
And for me, gender inequality is not only unfair, but it also limits the potential of society as whole. I mean, when women don't have the same opportunities, everyone loses. But I also believe change is possible, starting with small daily actions like respecting people, questioning micromachismo if it's okay or not, and supporting equality in all areas. And at the end of the day, fighting for equality is not just about women's rights. It's about just justice and respect for everyone. And I really think that by talking about it and acting, we can start making a progress over time.
I think everyone should listen as the woman opinion and judge less. I believe respect is the most important part of the quality, and I feel we all can do something to support each other, especially men. In my opinion, the change starts with small daily actions, and it's all.
So personally, I do think it's necessary to keep fighting towards gender equality because there's still a lot of barriers. Even though our society has progressed, there's still a lot of barriers in job opportunities, in salary, in domestic violence, sexual violence. So we need to raise our voices and be together as women to fight all that we live nowadays. Because even though they try to live as equals, everything you live in the society, even though we're even though we try to live as equals, you can notice that it's very different being any gender. I mean, it not only does affect women and men, it affects non-binary, intersexuals, trans people, and any other type of gender fluid people. Everyone is affected and treated differently because of who they are.
Well, that will be all for this video. Thank you for watching.